Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council, municipal staff, and members of the public in attendance that this electronic public meeting is being live streamed to the public. A video recording of this meeting will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. I'd like to thank the applicants for their patience and understanding of the need to organize this meeting through the use of technology. The municipality has made every effort to ensure all affected property owners were informed and are able to participate in this planning process. Sue, could you read the note for us, please?
One of the purposes of the Planning Act is to provide for planning processes that are open, accessible, timely, and efficient. Accordingly, all written submissions, documents, correspondence, emails, or other communications, including your name and address, form part of the public record and will be disclosed, made available by the municipality to such persons as the municipality sees fit, including anyone requesting such information. Accordingly, in providing such information, you shall be deemed to have consented to its use and disclosure as part of the planning process.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to do the First Nations land acknowledgement. As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest this morning?
None here.
Okay, seeing none, we will move to the file. The purpose is to hear persons' comments in regards to a request for a minor variance with respect to the provisions of zoning bylaw number 2006-26 as amended. The application was made by the applicant owner, Alan Bozick, 658 Tamarack Road, part of lots 4 and 5, concession 9, County of Renfrew, file number A-4/22. And I will turn it over to Lindsay to take us through the file.
Just need to share my screen. Gwen, I don't have any, I'm not able to share it.
Go ahead, you should be able to now.
Thank you. All right, everybody see that? Good. Okay.
Great.
All right, so I'll just get into the characteristics of this site. So the property is approximately 1 hectare in area and has approximately 210 meters of road frontage on Tamarack Road and 165 meters of water frontage along Green Lake. The property is currently vacant and a garage is proposed to be located at the front of the property. There is a dwelling to be located, to be built in the future. And the property will be serviced by private well and septic system. So this is just the surrounding uses of the property. So Green Lake is located to the south. There's Labrador Lake and rural lands to be located on to the west of the property. Noonan Lake is located at the north, and then there's some existing residential development along the Madawaska River along the east of the property. So there was a submitted sketch, but that you should have. It wasn't very clear on my end, so I didn't put it in here, but it showed the location of the proposed garage and the future dwelling and septic system. So the property is designated as rural in the County of Renfrew official plan, which permits low density residential. And it is zoned R1, which permits residential as well. All right, so section 45(1) of the Planning Act provides that a committee of adjustment may authorize a minor variance from the provisions of the zoning bylaw if the request maintains the general intent and purpose of both the official plan and zoning bylaw, if the development is desirable and appropriate for the lands, building, or structure, and if the variance is in fact minor. So the applicant is proposing to build a garage that will be 1,008 square feet in size at the front of the property. The official plan and the zoning bylaw both permit accessory buildings and structures to a residential use. Section 3.35 of the zoning bylaw states that accessory buildings and structures shall not exceed 5 meters in height in any residential zone. All right, so the garage is shown to be located a minimum of 29 meters from the front lot line. And based on air photography, it appears that the property is surrounded by trees. Therefore, it's not anticipated that the proposed garage will have an impact on the surrounding properties. The garage is to be located more than 5 meters from the interior lot line, which meets the required setback. And the garage is proposed to be 37 meters from Green Lake, which meets the 30-meter water setback. The proposed height of the garage is to be 5.5 meters, which does not meet the maximum height requirement of 5 meters. However, the increase of height for 0.5 meters can be considered minor. An increase in height is not anticipated to have any impact on the adjacent properties. The proposed building generally conforms to the intent and purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaw and can be considered desirable for the overall development of the property. So this property was created by a consent application in 2019. As part of that consent process, a surface water impact assessment, Green Lake, was prepared, and it was prepared in support of the consent application. As a consent, there was a condition that a development agreement was to be entered into that contained mitigation measures and recommendations from that report. So the development agreement requires a minimum setback distance of 30 meters from any surface water feature. And then minor landscaping activities are permitted within the 30 meters, but in order to protect the water quality of Green Lake, a stormwater management plan is required to be prepared by a qualified engineer for the purpose of reducing roadside sediments in roadside ditches, and the development plan for the lot should also include lot side swales and or road ditches designed to promote infiltration. So this is recommended to be a condition of the approval for the minor variance to be implemented prior to the issuance of a building permit. So the application was submitted to the internal departments within the township. The township received comments from Andy, and he has stated that the interior walls of the garage are proposed to be 11 feet 10 inches from the garage slab to the underside of the ceiling. So this height requirement was to accommodate the owner's personal equipment. So then, as he also noted that, as noted, all the conditions of development agreement must be met for lot grading and drainage to ensure that Green Lake is not subjected to any runoff from the development. So we also circulated the application to property owners in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. We did receive a number of objections. There was objections from Kristen and Eugene Marchand that they said that the bylaw is in place for a reason, should be respected. They don't want to set a precedent. There was various concerns from Doug Delamater and Shirley Hill, mostly talking about there's been a lot of new construction happening in a couple of years, and all those structures have to blend in with the environment. So they don't think that they should be able to increase the height. Also saying that council must be aware of the possible implications of setting a precedent. Another objection was received from Anna Latozik and had the following concerns, similar to the other ones about setting a precedent, and then there's lots of buildings being done on Green Lake. I did receive 2 other complaints. They were the same type from Sue Wade, sent one, and the other one was Andy Boytz, again, same objecting to the height increase. So we have received these comments from the residents that included that they may set a precedent for future buildings in the area. So just wanted to point out that each minor variance application is evaluated on a case-by-case basis, and it'll be up to the committee to approve any future applications that may be submitted to the township. And then, as previously indicated, this area around the property and the site is predominantly treed, and the development agreement does require protection of the 30-meter water setback. So the staff's opinion that the request to increase the height for a garage by 0.5 meters is considered minor and can be supported. There's not anticipated to be any adverse impacts on the adjacent property owners from the small height increase, and that the approval of the variance will not affect the rural nature of the area. So in conclusion, accessory buildings and structures to residential uses are permitted in the official plan and the zoning bylaw. Since the proposed garage is for residential uses, the application can be considered to meet the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The garage is proposed to be located more than 30 meters from the high water mark of Green Lake. However, in order to protect the water quality of Green Lake, a 30-meter water setback is required, as well as a requirement for the stormwater management plan. No impacts are anticipated on the adjacent properties, and the proposed garage can be considered to be desirable and appropriate for the land. It can also be considered to be minor. Leave the recommendation there for the mayor to read. I didn't receive any other phone inquiries, so that was it.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Are there any oral or written presentations by those in attendance? I actually don't think believe we have anyone in attendance, so I guess there are not. I'm not seeing anyone. Lindsay, is it possible for you to stop sharing screen for a minute?
I am
so I can be
trying.
certain I don't miss on someone who
Having
may have joined us.
That same issue as last time where I couldn't stop. Yeah. I may have to save me again. Doesn't give me the option to stop.
Okay, maybe Gwen can help you to not share screen.
Yeah. We were good last week.
Mhm. All right, let me see if I can just verify if there's anyone else. I don't see anyone else if I go down the queue of people. Oh. Okay. Gwen, is it going to be possible to not share screen? I'm sorry to ask you. I'm sure you're very busy.
I'm trying.
It's okay. No. No pressure. I just want to make sure that you had heard Lindsay and you were on it. Okay, while that's hopefully happening, and there is no one in attendance, so I'm assuming there's no oral or written presentations. Questions, discussion by council. I can see the 3 members of council who are present. Anyone have any questions? Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, just a question regarding since we do have a number of people opposed to this, just question regarding going to the 5.5. Does that set a precedent, which would mean from now on, any residents in that area will be allowed to do it? Because there's no specific reason why this one needs to be 5.5. So I'm thinking, okay, if we've done it for one, will we not have to do it for everyone if they request it?
Lindsay, could you possibly tackle that?
Sure. So in the comments received from the township, it did state that the reason that he wanted to increase it to the 0.5 was to make sure that his personal equipment could fit in the garage. But as for a precedent, each minor variance is evaluated on its own merit, right? So every time you get a minor variance, you'll look at the impacts to the surrounding uses. You're going to look and make sure that does meet the 4 tests. So maybe the next one may not. So it's definitely, it's up to council to decide.
Okay, so Lindsay, basically, it doesn't set a precedent that anyone in that area can now build to 5.5 meters if this is approved. They would still have to go through minor variance?
Correct.
Okay, Councillor Wilmer?
And the second question, I just want to ensure, because I've had a couple of people comment me about it, with it going up to 5.5 meters, it will not be visible. You're confident that the trees surrounding it will not make it extremely visible from the roadway?
So I didn't see the site in person, but based on air photography, that we think that it won't be, it's minor in our opinion, but it may be seen from the road, but it's a heavily treed area, so you may be able to see any garage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion by council? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Sue, are you going to take us through the test, or is Lindsay?
I can take you through the test.
Okay,
The
thank you.
Committee of Adjustment must consider 4 tests when reviewing a minor variance application. These tests are provided in Section 45(1) of the Planning Act. The variance is minor in nature.
Yes.
Yes.
Council, yes, you do have to respond. Okay, I think I got 4 yeses there, Sue.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
The variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure.
Yes.
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 The general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained.
Yes.
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 The general intent and purpose of the official plan is maintained.
Yes.
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 Okay. All right. So then we'll move to the notification at the public meeting that must be read. And Sue, you get to do the reading.
A copy of the decision of the committee will be sent to the applicant and to each person who appeared in person or by counsel at the hearing and who has filed with the Secretary Treasurer a written request for notice of the decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Madawaska Valley in respect to this application, you must submit a written request to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Madawaska Valley. If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Madawaska Valley before the decision is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Madawaska Valley before the decision is made by the Committee of Adjustment, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so.
Okay, thank you, Sue. We'll move to the committee decision, a resolution to grant application A-4/22 Bozek, that the Committee of we need a mover that the Committee of Adjustment approves minor variance file number A-4/22 Bozek as per the County of Renfrew conditions. Could I get a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Any discussion on that resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we are going to be closing this meeting, but please do not close the link because we're going to move into a public meeting right after this on the same Zoom link. So with that, I'm going to declare this meeting closed. And I'm just going to move some paperwork around and then we're going to start the next one. Let's see, here we go. All right, if everyone is ready, I'm going to call a public meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council, municipal staff, and members of the public in attendance that this electronic public meeting is being live streamed to the public. The video recording of this meeting will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. I'd like to thank the applicants for their patience and understanding of the need to organize this meeting through the use of technology. The municipality has made every effort to ensure all affected property owners were informed and are able to participate in the planning process. And Sue, I guess I need you to read the note again, please.
One of the purposes of the Planning Act is to provide for planning processes that are open, accessible, timely, and efficient. Accordingly, all written submissions, documents, correspondence, emails, or other communications, including your name and address, form part of the public record and will be disclosed, made available by the municipality to such persons as the municipality sees fit, including anyone requesting such information. Accordingly, in providing such information, you shall be deemed to have consented to its use and disclosure as part of the planning process.
Okay, thank you. Next is there any declaration of pecuniary interest on this file? Okay.
None here.
Seeing none, I guess I will do the First Nations land acknowledgement again because these two meetings may get separated and posted separately. So I'd like to do it again. As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. All right, the purpose for this meeting is to hear persons' comments in regards to zoning bylaw amendment application made by the applicant. The applicant is Tim and Kathy Fulford, 190 Wales Drive, and its file number ZB2226.4. Interesting file number. I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay to take us through this file.
All right, so the submitted application proposes a zoning bylaw amendment to the township zoning bylaw to rezone the property from limited service residential LSR to limited service residential exception 66 to reduce the water setback from Kemniskeg Lake from 30 meters to 20 meters and to reduce the interior side yard width on the southern property boundary line from 3 meters to 1.1 meter. So the Fulford property is approximately 0.32 hectares in area with 17 meters of road frontage along Wales Drive and 70 meters of water frontage along Kemniskeg Lake. It's currently vacant and they are proposing to have a dwelling and garage. So Crown Land is located to the south and east of the property. Kemniskeg is located to the west and the existing waterfront residential development is located to the north of the property. The provincial policy statement section 2.21E sub 2 states that planning authority shall protect, improve, and restore the quality and quantity of water by implementing necessary restrictions on development and site alterations to protect, improve, and restore vulnerable surface and groundwater, sensitive water features, and sensitive groundwater features and their hydraulic functions. So the property is designated rural in the county rent-proof official plan, which permits low-density residential uses. The county official plan does require a 30-meter water setback. And Kemniskeg Lake is designated as an at-capacity lake in the official plan. And there are a number of policies that need to be considered. The property is zoned limited service residential in the township zoning bylaw, which permits a limited service dwelling. And there are policies in the zoning bylaw for waterfront development. A scoped environmental impact assessment was prepared by JP2G consultants in support of the application. So they did provide a background of what the applicant is proposing, and then just concluded that it is anticipated that the conditions that they have stated for the reduced water setback, as well as conjunction with the mitigation measures below, will not have a greater impact on the quality of the lake, the natural features, or the neighboring properties that surround the site. So the report recommends that the following mitigation and best practice management are deemed sufficient to mitigate the potential impacts on Kemniskeg Lake as a result of the reduced water setback. So they recommend that the proposed dwelling and well to be constructed a minimum of 20 meters from the high water mark of the lake, that the septic system is to be located 30 meters back. There is a 20-meter wide buffer area that should be maintained along Kemniskeg Lake. And it's pretty much to stay in the natural vegetated state with the exception of an existing pathway. Vegetation on the subject lands outside the buffer area should also remain in a natural state as much as possible. Roof runoff should be controlled by directing water runoff to the rear of the property through eavesdropping or rain barrels. The extent of the exposed soils is to be kept at a minimum. Erosion and sediment control measures are critical for the construction work. And then I get additional mitigation measures to minimize the potential for inputs of sediment and other contaminants into the lake and the environment. So it includes proper maintenance on the construction equipment with respect to refueling, washing, and fluid changes, and proper disposal of fluids, filters, and other waste materials. And none of this work should be taking place within the 30-meter water setback. So the JP2G report concluded that the water quality of Kemneskeg Lake will not be adversely impacted with results of having a new dwelling. The proposal will also minimize potential phosphorus impacts, stormwater flows, and potential erosion. And as long as the mitigation measures are implemented, there will be no negative impacts on the quality of the lake water, natural features, or neighboring properties. So at the time of writing the report, there was no comments received. So as mentioned, the owners are proposing to construct a dwelling and attached garage on their vacant property. So both of the official plan and the zoning bylaw do require a 30-meter water setback for all buildings and structures, including a septic system from the high water mark. All right, so as mentioned, like this submitted study from JP2G identified that the lot is only 0.32 hectares in area, which is large enough to accommodate their new dwelling with attached garage, well, and septic system. But it's due to the irregular shape of the property that they are not able to build that meet the 30-meter water setback. So they have proposed to reduce it to 20 meters. The report did include a map showing the conceptual layout for the proposed development. And they have located the septic system 30 meters back. The zoning bylaw amendment application also requests a reduction in the side yard setback from the southern lot line that will go from 3 meters to 1 meters. And as we have gone through, there have been mitigation measures and best management practices that should be implemented through site plan agreement. So the zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the subject lands from limited service residential to limited service residential exception 66 to reduce the water setback from 30 meters to 20 meters from Kemneskeg Lake, and to reduce the interior side yard width on the southern property boundary from 3 meters to 1 meter. So the recommendation that, subject to any additional concerns or information raised at the public meeting, the zoning bylaw be passed, and further that the owners in the township enter into a site plan agreement that includes a plan that shows the location of all the buildings and structures, including the well and septic system, and that they meet these mitigation measures that I mentioned above. So there's 8 mitigation measures. That is it. Like Gwen, I'm having the same problem again. I can't stop sharing. Thank you.
Okay, great. Lindsay, were you going to take us through any of the notices then?
I can, unless Sue wants to. It's up
I'm
to
not sure
her.
who was going to do that part. I know you took us through the application.
Yeah, sure. So the application was circulated to the neighboring properties within 120 meters, and we haven't received any comments. So the notice was also posted on the subject property on July 13th. And we didn't receive any comments from any public bodies as well.
Okay, so, and we also don't have any written comments or verbal comments. It is a no comment file. Okay, that's fine. Are there any oral or written presentations by those in attendance? Once again, I see that it is only council and staff that are here, so I'm assuming there are not, therefore. Any questions or discussion by council? Okay. I did just have one question. Lindsay, could you confirm, is there shoreline road allowance and are they purchasing it? Because the maps tend to show that there is shoreline road allowance. So I'm assuming since they're going to be putting their building on it, part of it, that they are purchasing it. Am I wrong?
I'm not sure. That would, I don't know if that they have purchased it or if they are in the process.
Okay.
It does look that it's still there, but again, like our mapping could be skewed.
All right. So it's super important that if they're going to infringe on the shoreline road allowance with their building, that they own the shoreline road allowance. That's all I'm looking for confirmation of. Sue, do you have any knowledge of whether or not they're in the process of purchasing the shoreline?
I see Andy just logged in as well there. His sound is off. I
Maybe,
wasn't sure if you want to speak to that. To my
maybe
knowledge,
he
yes, they
knows.
have acquired it.
Oh, okay. Just if someone could confirm that for me. Andy, is it possible for you to confirm that for me?
I do believe that they do own the shoreline. I think that was part of the process and they purchased it in 2020. I can confirm it, but the files are upstairs. Again, and you are correct, our GIS mapping has not always been updated according to the new ownership of some of the shoreline road allowances.
Okay, I just wanted to be reassured of that because it sort of looks like they're putting their building on something they don't own. And so I need the public to be reassured that they have purchased that shoreline road allowance. So thank you for that, Andy. I appreciate it. And that was my only question. And again, it's probably just the mapping needs to be updated. All right, I'll turn it back over to Lindsay for the bylaw draft copy. Oh, and you're on mute.
I'm just gonna grab it to share.
Apparently Zoom is not very sharing today. There we go.
You see it? Okay. So
Yes.
here's the. So it adds a new subsection. 7.3 NNN is LSR exception 66.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. And that will be, the bylaw will be in before council at our meeting later today. Sue, did you want to read the notification, please?
Yes, I can. Council is also required by section 34, 14.5 to inform the public at the public meeting of who is entitled to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal under sections 34.11 and 19 as follows. Section 34.11, if council decides to recuse an application or refuses or neglects to make a decision on an application within 90 days of the municipal clerk receiving the application, the applicant or the Minister of Municipal Affairs may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal by filing an appeal with the clerk of the municipality. Under section 34.19, not later than 20 days after the giving of notice of the passing of the bylaw, the applicant, any person or public body who made oral submissions at the public meeting or made a written submission to council before the bylaw was passed, or the Minister of Municipal Affairs may appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal by filing an appeal with the clerk of the municipality.
Okay, thank you, Sue. And with that, I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you, Luke. It's good to see you. All right, council, we'll come out of this meeting and move into our council and committee meeting. Thanks, everyone. Bye.